Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time.
The best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. And you know it.
With a tear in my eye.
The cream of the crop. Acknowledge me.
What's up, everybody? Episode 418 of Top Rope Nation. Ryan Drosty, Jesse Velasquez here to talk WWE Clash in Italy. Just went off the air a few minutes ago, Sunday afternoon here in the States. Jesse, how you doing today?
Fun fact, I really enjoy these 4 o'clock in the afternoon podcasts on the weekend. It is tremendous stuff. It's a big difference from a morning or a super late night show that we always do.
Yeah. I like the timing of these shows when they're over in Europe and get to watch it. Now, I did have a little problem. I was telling you off air though, like when we got to the middle of the show, I hadn't had my afternoon coffee yet, and I was starting to really fade. I think it was during the Sol Ruca Becky Lynch match, and I was starting to doze off. And then I had an espresso, got a little caffeine in me. I got my Diet Coke here, no beer right now, as we talk about it. It wasn't really a surprising show. There were some things on this that I expected to happen. I figured they were going to go 50-50 with Oba and Brock. It's not very inspired, but I figured that's what was going to happen. I didn't think they'd beat Roman. I got a lot of questions on why even booking this feud then right out of WrestleMania, though, in that main event. We'll probably start talking about Roman and Jacob Fatu. They opened with Gunther and Cody Rhodes. Not surprised by that result either. Very uninspired, though. The match was not very good. I mean, it was an okay match, but it was just starting to feel like it was starting to hit its stride, and then it ended with a kind of a weird finish. I don't know, man. We can talk about our grades right here, but when you watch kind of an all-timer of a pay-per-view just 7 nights ago, or you watch a hell of a match on the AAA show last night, and then you go into this one, and this is what you get, it just felt really just treading water to me. Very bland, nothing very exciting. Some of the workers even just appear to be going through the motions, to me at least. Very slow motion. I can't imagine grading this higher than a C. If you've been, like I see our friend Ryan Huffman's in the chat. He gave it a B, but Ryan hasn't been watching AEW lately. If I've been watching AEW lately and I watch this show, I can't give this a B, man. The show was very bland, very bland. C minus? I'll go C minus. What about you, Jesse?
So I haven't caught every bit of this show, but what I've seen so far, I would give it a C+. I still have to watch right around half of the show. I like the main event until the end, I think, and then even the after credits kind of lowered this another half grade for me. I've enjoyed Sol Ruca getting a win. I was very surprised. I did call one title change on the show, but that was not it. I was very surprised that was it.
Yeah.
And then seeing that match time for Cody and Gunther being 11 minutes and 30 seconds left me perplexed. My son even asked me, he's like, "Why did your eyes just pop out of your head, Dad?" I said, "Because I looked at a match time, and just that's something that's usually reserved for like a 20 to 25 minute chunk of time."
Yeah. John Hope in the chat, B minus for me. He says perfectly watchable. Yeah, I mean, it was an easy watch. I'll give you that. But that's not what I want out of wrestling. I had so many other things I could have been doing this afternoon. But we're here for the people. We're here because you guys want the content. We're here because we have paying customers who support the show on Patreon, and we want to review every single pay-per-view and PLE for you. That said, I don't want to spend my Sunday afternoon watching a show that's just perfectly watchable. I want it to be fun, and I want to be into it. And I was just kind of like, that's fine. There's nothing on this show that was great. Ryan says ESPN app is not good. Also had mine click out about 5 times. Well, I hope you're not paying extra for that, Ryan, because that doesn't sound great. I sailed the high seas over to England to watch this show on Netflix. That's how I'm watching it, because I ain't giving any extra money to ESPN to watch these shows right now. I'll wait until they add the YouTube TV interface, because there's no chance in hell I am paying out extra money to watch ESPN Plus or whatever the hell it's called right now. Guys, if you're here right now, we are streaming on so many different services. We are streaming on TikTok. We are streaming live on YouTube, on Twitch, on Twitter, and our new friends at buzzer.com. That's bzzr.com. Guys, if you're not on Buzzer, check it out. If you like, if you like social media, but you log into Twitter or Instagram and you're seeing real world and news stuff that's stressing you out and you just want the sports or you just want the pro graps, Buzzer is where you can go. It's all sports all the time. Lots of great content creators, pro athletes, people from WWE, like Kayla Becker. She's on there doing shows. You can get your content there and just stick to sports. I really like it. Jesse's there, I'm there, and then the show has an account, Top Rope Nation, where we're streaming live right now on Buzzer. So thanks to all of you who are tuning in on Buzzer right now as well. And of course, go ahead, Jeff.
I almost want to talk about the AAA main event last night instead, because I actually watched that live, and the presentation of it was magnificent. I thought the match was a little convoluted, yet it was a very exciting piece of business for AAA/WWE.
Here's one thing I will say about it though. I have seen clips. I haven't watched the whole thing yet. I've seen all the praise from people I like and respect, and I'm sure the match will live up to all of that. But I saw people saying like El Grande Americano is the most over baby face in Mexico. Not when Mystico was alive. What the hell are you people talking about? That's a ridiculous statement. But he, great crowd from the clips I saw, super over. I wouldn't say Mystico level, the top promotion in Mexico. But yeah, man. I mean, it's weird. You got two white guys doing luchador stuff, but the crowd likes it. So I mean, if they like it, I'm not going to complain about it. And they got a great response. I got to watch the whole thing in full still to comment, but we'll definitely. I want to go at the end of the show and get your take on it and get me all primed to turn on the TV later tonight, because I saw all the praise, and I'll probably put a star rating on Patreon for that after I watch it.
You should. I'll wait till the end to give mine.
Yeah. Okay, so there's our names of our patrons. Thank you guys all for your support. But we're going to start with Clash in Italy with that main event. Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu. This was the match that I took the most notes on. The rest of these matches, I have very thin notes, just more talking points. But this one I was really curious because, they had an okay match at Backlash. I was pretty shocked that this was going to be Roman's first feud coming out of WrestleMania and winning the title from Punk. Because as we've talked about on the show for a couple of years, we all see a lot of potential in Jacob Fatu. And, you're going to beat him right away at Backlash, and you're going to run it back here with tribal combat over in Italy. And if he takes another L as he did, kind of what are we doing here? And to me, Jesse, what it looks like we're doing is we're repeating Bloodline 2020 to 2023, and we're just going to keep running this thing into the ground and the same storyline over and over and over because Paul Levesque has no other ideas for Roman Reigns and these guys. We'll talk about how it ended, but that was basically the feeling I got at the end of the match. They come out, big match feel, long entrances. That's another talking point on this show. I felt like on Backlash, after all the complaints on WrestleMania, with all the advertisements and all of the breaks between the matches, that they kind of tightened it up a little bit. It was a better viewing experience. This show felt like it rolled that back. I felt like there was tons of time between the 5 matches. Everything died down considerably. Long waits. We finally get to this match. Long entrances, as you would expect in a Roman match. And then when the match started off, it was very slow and methodical. They were talking about that on commentary. They fight through the crowd a little bit. They go over by this food cart. Roman's throwing food into the crowd. Roman gets tossed into the signpost that was like directing people on where to sit. This little thin piece of metal. Didn't look particularly brutal, but he sells that. They get back to the ringside area. Roman is very slowly taking this ring out from under the table and kind of chuckling to himself as Jacob's laid out at ringside. And again, they're talking about on commentary, Roman, he's so methodical. And the crowd starts chanting for Roman Reigns, and he's laughing about it and smiling. And ultimately, they get that in the ring, the table. They get the ring steps in the ring. And Roman ends up kind of tossing the ring steps out of the ring onto Jacob's head. That was kind of the first spot that actually looked pretty brutal in the match. But I mean, did you think it was really slow and methodical and kind of boring early, Jesse?
I was like kind of fresh into it. It's almost your stereotypical Roman Reigns match where yes,
Yeah.
pacing is always important to draw it out. I think it ended up going about 25 minutes, so they ramped it up slow, telling a story eventually. We talked about Jacob Fatu in the Tongan death grip. That finishing maneuver should be abolished. However, I would like to say that kudos to Roman Reigns for attacking the hand midway through the match, and also Jacob selling it when he was trying to put it back on and with other maneuvers later on down the line. So, yes, I would have liked a little bit quicker tempo, but then again, I don't have much to compare it to other than Sol Ruka and Becky Lynch.
There wasn't a lot in this match that would make it feel like tribal combat, or it was just like a match had a couple of weapons in it, and that was about it. So after he tosses the stairs onto Jacob, he gives him the drive-by drop kick into the ring post, and then there's clotheslines in the ring from Roman. Jacob ends up dodging a Superman punch. He hits some right hands, his senton backsplash, headbutts in the corner from Jacob. He gives Roman that running hip check into the corner. He goes up for the pop-up Samoan drop, but Roman catches him with a Superman punch on the way down for a 2 count. And then Roman goes for the spear. He gets a super kick from Jacob, followed by the first attempt at that Tongan death grip. Roman tries to fight out. Jacob eventually pushes him over the ropes to the outside, and then he runs for a dive, and as he comes through the ropes, he gets Superman punched by Roman. And then Roman gets out a toolbox. This did look pretty brutal. Gets out this heavy toolbox. He slams it into Jacob's hand on the announce table. And then Jacob's kind of laid up by the ring steps, and he slams the toolbox again into Jacob's hand, his right hand, as you said, Jesse, so that he can't apply the Tongan death grip later. And then you get back into the ring. Roman's working him over. He's stomping on the hand. He sets up the table in a corner, and he goes for a spear, but Jacob takes him out with another first a kick and then a hip check into the corner. And then Jacob charges outside, and he gets a Superman punch, and then Roman spears him through the barricade on the outside. There was these 2 kind of security guards on the side of the barricade that took the impact and were kind of like laying underneath the rubble, so to speak. The fans were very concerned about this. Was clearly part of the show, but once they got back into the ring, the fans in the front row were all looking off to the side at these guys selling the fact that they had like come down on the concrete when Roman speared Jacob through the barrier. I thought that was kind of entertaining. But they were quite worried for a little bit. They get back into the ring, and there's a spear from Roman. Jacob kicks out. At this point, Roman starts talking a bunch of shit. He's like, "You think I need help to beat you? The Usos aren't out here. I've never needed anyone. I do this because I love you guys." It's like, dude, we watched the 4-year title reign. You won from interference every single fucking month. What are we talking about? Roman then immediately starts pulling off the top turnbuckle pads. He's screaming, again, "I don't need anyone's help." He takes off 3 of the 4 turnbuckle pads. The 4th one he couldn't because the table's leaned up against it over on the other side. Jacob, out of nowhere, goes for the death grip, but his hand's injured, so he can't lock it in. So then Roman hits a Superman punch, but Jacob Fatu fires himself up, and he's like hulking up, and there's another Superman punch, and he's doing the Hulk up thing again. And then Roman tosses him into 2 turnbuckles head first, the exposed turnbuckles, and he goes for a spear. But instead, Jacob spears Roman for a 2 count. And then he goes for the top rope moonsault. Roman moves. Jacob comes down flat on his face. Roman goes for the spear, but instead, Jacob hits the pop-up Samoan drop, then the moonsault, 2 count. And as he kicks out, Roman hits this low blow like he's done often in the past, like moving his arm up, hits him low. They're exchanging right hands on their knees. Then they're standing. They're exchanging hands back and forth. Jacob goes for the death grip. Roman breaks it. He tosses Jacob into the steel turnbuckle over and over. Jesse, if you're going to throw a guy multiple times into an exposed steel turnbuckle, what do you need, my friend?
It was what 2 to 3 times 3 minutes prior that led to a 2 count. This one was a standard 10 count, and I've never seen that in professional wrestling history because back in the day, that used to knock you out.
Yeah.
You would get pinned, matches over, and now this just sells, I think, the ludicrous amount of punishment that takes place in a lot of these matches, and I'm not here for that.
But also, you need blood, right? I mean, if you're going face first into steel over and over, like I just think if you're going to do that spot, you got to have blood. It's tribal combat. Come on, let them bleed. But anyways, Roman then spears Jacob through the table on the opposite side of the ring. Jacob gets to his feet. Roman hits another spear. 1, 2, 3. Clean finish. Roman has beat him for the second consecutive month. And then after that, they're talking about how Jacob must now acknowledge Roman on Raw tomorrow night. And the Usos come out and they put the Ulafala on Roman. And Michael Cole says, tomorrow, Jacob Fatu must do his tribal service. And Roman is leaving the ring and he looks off into the crowd, Jesse. And who is standing there? It's Solo Sikoa and the Samoan B team. And Roman even kind of like laughs, like, I'll take care of him next. You cannot. Nobody can possibly be taking Solo Sikoa seriously at this point, right? As a challenger to Roman. I mean, what are we doing here? I don't know what this does for Jacob Fatu. I guess in their mind, it's all right. He's going to have to serve Roman now for several months, and eventually we'll have him wrestle again. It's just the same thing we've seen in the past. This is so uninspiring. To me, it would have been so much more exciting to have Roman put over Jacob Fatu, to have Jacob Fatu win the title and change it up. But instead, like I was ranting about, Hunter has no original ideas for the main event scene, and we're just going to keep recycling stuff over and over and over. I thought the match ended up being pretty good. The finish was uninspiring. Nothing about this makes me want to tune into Raw or SmackDown or anything. It's just, here we go again. So I can't grade it too high.
Spoiler alert for those who don't know about Roman Reigns and his schedule. After this Raw tomorrow, he is not scheduled for the remainder of June. He was taken off of those shows 2.5 weeks ago. So I think we can forecast ahead that Jacob's likely going to lay him out, or yeah, I would assume that's what's going to happen. And he's probably going to make the Usos acknowledge him while Roman's on the shelf because, like you said, Solo cannot be taken serious right now. You mentioned his win-loss record back on the show like a month ago, and he's won like 2 matches in the last 2 years, something along those lines.
Like hardly ever wins on TV in singles matches, at least.
Yeah. You can't take that seriously. Half of that crew is gone now. All that's left is Tala Tonga and Tonga Loa, I believe. So there's only 3. And I would have done the same thing Roman did, and that's kayfabe, brother.
Yeah. So I mean, if that's the direction, and you have him attack Roman and Roman's off TV or whatever, why would you not put the title on the guy? I mean, you've neutered him by having him lose. He lost clean as a sheet in this match. So he's lost 2 months in a row. One of the handful of guys that I think has a ton of potential that I think they've screwed up massively. Having him lose to Solo Sikoa, was that last year? Taken away, he still does it, but the pop-up Samoan into the moonsault is such an awesome finishing sequence. To do the Tongan death grip, it's not an impressive finish for a big guy that has that kind of athleticism. I don't like switching it up to that. I don't like having him lose 2 months in a row coming out of WrestleMania to Roman. I just really don't like the direction on any of this, quite frankly. But
the easiest build you could have done was to get Jacob to SummerSlam and get him on a 3-month win streak because he had just defeated Drew McIntyre. And some people in WWE lore view Drew McIntyre as still an upper tier guy. So you could easily take that route and have him have internal beef with the Usos or something like that. Make him earn it that way, and then have him collide with Roman at SummerSlam. I know that for some folks that might not be a SummerSlam worthy match. Yet, what are you going to do for SummerSlam 2026 for like the 3rd, 4th year in a row? Are you going to put like Cody and Roman in these spots again and not elevate anybody new? That's just not that isn't good ethical practices for World Wrestling Entertainment right now.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, this is probably when I go back and grade this, this is probably like a high threes type main event in the star rating department, something like that. It does not break into the 4-star range for me. It's nothing I would ever watch again. I always say this on the show. If I'm going to grade an entire pay per view a B, there's got to be something I would go back on it and watch. And there's nothing on the show I would ever watch again. I don't think there's really anything on the show that will ever be replayed. I don't think there was any memorable like all-time moments on it or anything like that. So I just can't go B. C is average, and to me it was average to slightly below average as a show. But yeah, that's the main event. I mean, again, that's what I have most of my notes on. So we'll go back in a second. Do you have any other thoughts on this one, Jesse, before we start at the beginning of the show?
Not many. Like I said, just it's very uninspired and directionless because what do you do for SummerSlam now if you're Roman Reigns? Because we know he's going to return before then. Do you set up a Reigns Punk SummerSlam main event on night 2? I mean, that almost sounds uninspired because he hasn't been seen since he lost at WrestleMania.
Yeah. Yeah, I almost wonder if they're going to do Cody Punk. I don't know. I really do not know. I guess the theme of the show is just, all these guys that I have some excitement about, but they all lost. Oba lost, Jacob lost, and at the very beginning of the match, or the very beginning of the show, Gunther lost. So, I guess we can go back and start with the opening of the show. WWE title, Gunther, Cody Rhodes, Gunther challenging. And we were talking about this off air. I think it's like an 11-minute match. They just didn't really seem to ever get going. There was a funny moment from Michael Cole early where Cody did his cartwheel across the ring, and Michael Cole called it a somersault. I thought that was kind of funny. Um, they're just like, they're very back and forth early. Cody got a decent reaction from the crowd when he came out. I thought he might get heavily booed, with Gunther being European. But as the match went on, it did seem like there was more people cheering Gunther and that they wanted to see him win this match. So, yeah, I mean, this is the opening match. It aired live on ESPN that first hour. And the timing of this match, some of that too is what they have set up with ESPN. They have a certain amount of matches they want to get on in that first hour. And then they want to set up that third match, which was Oba Brock for the paying customers. They're trying to get you to flip over and subscribe to the service. So knowing all the commercials, all the entrances, they're only going to have so much time. But 11 minutes did not make for a great match. I mean, very back and forth. Like I said, neither one was really able to gain much of an advantage. You had, let's see, Cody had a pedigree at one point. You had Gunther come back with a power bomb, 2 counts for both of them. Gunther kicked out of the crossroads at one point, and there was a Cody cutter attempt, but Gunther caught him, so he's locking in the sleeper, and you get ultimately Cody countering that into a roll up for a 2 count. And then you get the sleeper on again from Gunther, and it almost looked like Cody might be out. He sold this pretty well. He was locked in it for quite a long time. Gunther's really cinching it in, laying his body weight on top of him. But Cody ends up, I could have used a roadie at this point.
Rody Codes. What a great name that would be.
Cody's fighting out. But still you get Gunther cinching it in more, and you end up getting a rope break. And then there's chops back and forth, there's clotheslines, there's a Cody cutter, and then Cody hits the crossroads. And right when he goes for the cover, Gunther has his leg clearly underneath the rope. Now, they filmed this from the opposite side of the ring, but you could kind of tell watching it live that his foot was clearly under the ropes. So it's like 1, 2, Gunther's foot's under the ropes. And on the third count, for some reason, his foot went up in the air. I thought maybe he was going to try to set it on the ropes. He didn't. It just went straight up in the air. But his foot was underneath the bottom rope, which is also a rope break for the first 2. And so, like, after the match, they show these replays. Gunther's leg was under the ropes. The referee made an error. It should have been a rope break, but Cody retains. It's their way of continuing the feud, I guess. It's just a cowardly way, I think, to book a pay-per-view match in the open. It's a very uninspired way to open a show. Quite frankly, I'd much rather see Gunther win the title, but I'm not surprised with the result at all. Your take?
You know, if I mean, neither one of us are professional referees. Now, if you were going to go to a professional referee school, when somebody makes a pin, isn't the first thing you do is to like look to see if their foot is under the rope, or their arms up, or something along those lines? I'm just curious.
I mean, you would think, you would certainly think, but yeah. Now, the thing that was really odd about this is that in the next match, the entire finishing sequence, and I tweeted about this, was also about rope breaks. So I just thought, I know there's different agents working on these matches, but ultimately, like this has got to go through Hunter with the finishing sequences. Why would you have two matches in a row that are all about rope breaks? I thought that was questionable also. So the next match was Jade Cargill and Rhea Ripley. And I saw a lot of praise out there for Jade specifically, and how she kind of carried herself with Ripley throughout this match. I agree somewhat, but I still have a pretty tough time buying into Jade Cargill's matches for a couple of different reasons. I think that she's improved, certainly from like not botching moves. I mean, she's been in the business now, what, 6-ish years? 6 or 7
5.
years.
Yeah, it was like March of 2021 was her debut. No, it was. Wait, it was March of
Did she
2020.
start during the pandemic? I can't even remember.
It was March. That's right. Because I just remember because I remember the match that she had with Shaq against Cody and Brandy, and it was coming home from. It had to have been 2021 because we were
Yeah.
taking our dog to dog training at that point in time, and it's 2021.
So she's probably been training, for like 5 to 6 years. And so you would expect some improvement. We all were like, her going to WWE made the most sense because she would get more reps down there. And, she has improved. This match was the second longest match on this show. They went almost 17 minutes. Of course, it's for the women's championship with Ripley defending. But the issues I had were that one of the things that continues to plague Jade is everything that she does looks like it has the weight of a feather behind it. Nothing looks like it's laid in very much at all. And there's a lot of like, you catch her talking through her spots on camera a lot. There was a lot of that in this match. So Jade was working over Rhea early, and the match really kind of died at this point. They go outside. There's this outside sequence where they're fighting with Jade on offense, where the camera caught nearly every single spot that Jade called out. It's like she's working very careful, and you can, if you know what you're watching, you can pick up on it when you watch it. Like, you very clearly see her calling every single spot to Rhea, and she looks like, it's weird to say this because she's such a strong woman and looks so impressive out there, but when she works, like, she looks like she's working very dainty and like careful. That's just me. Maybe other people don't feel that way, but when I watch her wrestle, it seems like I said, like, there's not a lot of weight behind the moves that she's laying. She's not laying it in with much force. Great physical specimen, like I said, but the offense just does not look great to me. It looks so telegraphed. And as the match went on, Rhea goes on offense, obviously, and she's trying to get the crowd back into it. She's working super hard. The crowd then starts to catch fire. And I thought the second half of the match was pretty darn good. And this is where, though, they get to that finishing sequence, and it's all about the rope breaks. So you get Michin and B-Fab running out there when Jade's on the mat beat. And B-Fab is supposed to grab Jade's foot and put it on the bottom rope. And she leans in around the 2 count, and she totally whiffs on grabbing Jade's foot. Jade was probably a little too far from the ropes, first of all. But she whiffs on that. And then so Jade like just kind of has to lift her leg up and put it on the ropes for the rope break. So it was like Rhea had her beat, but B-Fab came out and screwed it up. So second match in a row where that's the story, the botched rope break, or whatever. So then Charlotte Flair runs out, and Charlotte's coming for Rhea's, backup. And then Rhea is beat in the ring, and Charlotte puts Rhea's foot on the ropes. And then, there's fighting around the ringside with BFAB and Michin and Charlotte. And then ultimately, Rhea does hit the Riptide, and she gets the win. Was not surprised to see her win here. Thought it was a little questionable how they told that story, a second match in a row with the bottom rope being the story.
Yeah, I mean, you, especially if you are Jade Cargill wrestling Rhea Ripley, you would want to make your offense look realistic, because that's a woman that can definitely handle a little bit of extra oomph into a specific maneuver. And yeah, tying into those bottom rope breaks for the full hour on ESPN, I don't know how I would feel if I were a person watching in a regular ESPN and going, maybe I want to order the next 3 matches because I really liked what I just saw with all those bottom leg rope breaks.
That's also questionable. You're airing live on cable, trying to get paying customers. And you make everything about rope breaks. I don't know. I don't know about that. That's not how I would do it, Jesse. It's definitely not. So again, maybe I'm out to lunch on this because I've read a lot of tweets and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, Cargill looks so good here." And yeah, there was outside the rope break, there wasn't like the obvious botches like she's had in the past, but she doesn't lay it in hard enough. That's just how I feel. Maybe you guys disagree with me. That's totally fine. Let me have it in the comments. But I just feel like she works too light, having all of that size. Okay, so the third match then was at the top of the hour, and this is when they go just to the pay side on the ESPN Unlimited, and it's Brock and Oba Femi. And people were pointing out early when they showed Oba arriving at the arena that he had the boo-boo face on. It looked like a guy who was about to lose. And I don't think anybody was surprised that Oba would lose this match after, basically destroying Brock at WrestleMania. I think that they didn't need to do the retirement gimmick at WrestleMania because it kind of took away from Oba's moment, especially if they're going where I think they're going here, because they then might be going to an actual retirement match at SummerSlam in Minnesota, and you would expect Oba to win that in the rubber match. And then once again, the story is going to be Brock Lesnar retired, not Oba Femi beat the shit out of Brock Lesnar. So I think it was very questionable to run that angle at WrestleMania. But here we are. I thought it was guaranteed Brock would win. And yes, indeed, Brock won. But the match itself, despite what we said about the finish and in the direction creatively, I thought the match was a lot of fun. They had a lot of energy behind everything that they did. The crowd was super into it throughout. They did try to protect Oba. It took 7 F5s to beat Oba Femi. He kicked out of 4 or 5 F5s in the ring. And then ultimately, Brock gives him an F5 through the table on the outside, brings him back into the ring, hits another one, and then he finally beat him after 7 F5s. So they did what they can to make Oba look really, really strong. Afterwards, Brock's like 1 + 1, you're done, bitch, or something like that. I don't know. But it was a fun match. This one I would recommend watching because it was short. It was 6 minutes, but it was a sprint, high energy, high impact the whole time. Did you have a chance to see this one, Jesse?
This is the one I'm going to go back 100% to watch when my son goes to bed tonight because, 6 minutes, 21 seconds, and I saw what happened. This is really the only way you could beat Oba Femi at this point, and you don't want to. I asked this question to you guys a couple of months ago when he had defeated Brock. It's like, do you want him to go on a Goldberg-like run? And once he finally does lose, how do you make his character look good? How do you follow through on that? Because that's the one thing WCW did wrong with Goldberg afterwards was I think once the streak was over, a lot of the mystique was gone with this. There's still a lot left in the tank, but it also makes me question what a mere mortal is going to have to do to beat Oba Femi later on.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, right away, I figured he was going to kick out, but it was interesting how it started because when it started, Brock just rushed him and immediately hit him with F5s. I'm like, God, they're not going to have him squash Oba in return, are they? But no, he had a F5, a second one, a third one, a fourth one, covers. Oba kicked out of 4 F5s right away. And Brock was really good here in the facial reactions, just being stunned that this guy kicked out. And Lesnar had him in the Kimura at one point. Oba fought out of that, slams him down to the mat. The only botch was like Oba was setting up a choke slam and they timed it a little wrong. And like it looked like Brock just jumped in the air and fell to his back. Oba didn't even really try to pick him up. That was a little mistiming there. But the way the camera shot it, you really couldn't tell too much. And then, right after that, it was the fifth F5 and Oba kicked out again. And Brock kicked out of a choke slam. They go down to the floor. That's where Lesnar hit the F5 through the announce table. Right after that, Oba got right up on his feet after taking the F5 through the announce table, which was cool. They ended up getting back into the ring. He goes after Lesnar at that point. He's getting some offense in, but then ultimately we get that seventh F5 for the finish. So, I mean, this was the match that I probably the most fun watching live. I'll say that for sure.
Yeah, that's exactly why I do want to go back and watch it. So, like you already alluded to, with it being his college hometown, Brock's Minneapolis in August, I think it's going to be the easiest way for him to go out.
Mhm.
And we'll see how that match is booked, if it's like 60-40, 50-50, something along those lines, and what he's going to do for Oba Femi on the way out the door. I'd imagine he's going to do something great for him just based on the original WrestleMania match, because Oba is entirely your future. One question I'm going to throw in your ballpark right now. Your thoughts on overall on the crowd, the Italian crowd, because I love PLEs overseas, and that match and a half that I watched, the crowd was doing wonderful like always.
Oh yeah, the crowd was great. I really enjoy these European crowds, and I was a little like I said though, I was a little surprised at some of the reactions. Like it seemed in this match like they were more behind Brock at points, which I was a little shocked by. You'll have to let me know if you get that same, if you think the same thing when you watch it. I thought they'd be more heavily behind Oba, but at this point in your career or his career, Brock's kind of like that. He's a legend. And so that's definitely going to play into it. They don't have a chance to see him over there. They said Brock hadn't wrestled in Europe since 2002. So, I mean, that's wild. I didn't realize that. That's what they said on commentary, at least. I don't know if we might need to fact check it, but they said he hadn't wrestled in Europe since 2002.
I believe it. He's been to Saudi Arabia a few times. I don't know if he's been to Canada, but he has been to Canada once. He was there for Elimination Chamber 23.
Yeah. We got a super chat, and I want to thank him very much, John Hope. 10 British pounds. I'll read this because super chats guarantee your chat gets read on air. So if you're watching us live and you want to get your chats featured, super chats are open. John says, something for your beer coffee fund. Keep up the quality, guys. Just wanted to completely derail the pod and say how much I'm looking forward to Speedball Night and Osprey Mark II on Dynamite. I mean, we're pretty vocal about this on the pod and which shows we enjoy watching the most at this moment. So I'm kind of with you there as far as from an in-ring perspective for sure.
I'm looking forward more. This is crazy and maybe sacrilegious as a Will Ospreay fan. I'm looking forward more to MJF Roosh than I am Ospreay and Mark Davis at this point. Same for Speedball and Kevin Knight as well.
Yeah. I just feel like Dynamite and Collision are just must see every single week at this point. They're really hitting out of the park, I think. But yeah. Thank you, John. We appreciate that. We will put that towards our beer and coffee, and we might need it later this week because we're thinking about recording our next TRN Classics on ECW Barely Legal 1997 on the way, a show Jesse has wanted to do for quite a while. And we might be recording that later this week. We'll have to get in contact with Justin, who is returning from Western Iowa, no man's land at the moment. So he's kind of off the grid. But when Justin gets back, we'll see when we can do that show.
I'm breaking off about as close to a top quality gin as there is when Classics is unveiled. So I am very, very excited to open that bottle of gin.
You sent us a picture of it. So I'm ready. I'm ready to see you break that one open. That's for sure. All right. And the only match we haven't talked about on this 5-match PLE was the WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship with Becky Lynch defending against Sol Ruca, who, they talked about. She's been a champion at NXT. She was like the speed champion, but she's never won a true main roster title. So this was her chance to do this. And as I said, this was the match that I was starting to hit a wall during my mid-afternoon wall where I was like, you know what? I need that caffeine or I'm not going to make it. This is where I crash in the middle of the afternoon. So I'll remember some of these big spots. It's one of those things where Soul has kind of those eye-popping acrobatic maneuvers, of course, being a gymnast, University of Oregon, I believe, in the past. Sometimes they hit, sometimes, they kind of miss. Like she hit the moonsault off the top to the outside, which they mentioned on commentary just barely connected. She does this crazy stuff, but just sometimes it doesn't quite connect and it looks a little botchy. But I thought from what I saw, the match was pretty fun and probably one of the better matches on the show. So yeah, I mean, Sol Ruka is just using her athleticism, trying to hit everything at Becky from multiple directions to keep her off guard, being creative throughout. Um, you got Becky Lynch kind of turning the tide, working over Sol Ruka, using her own momentum against her as they're going out to the arena floor. They fought around ringside a little bit. They get back in the ring. There's uppercuts back and forth. Let's see. Like kind of the story was Ruka using her speed to try to outpace Becky throughout, putting Becky Lynch on defense. She hit a missile drop kick at one point that sent Becky across the ring, a running knee for a 2 count. She went for the soul snatcher, but Becky caught her, put her in the disarmer briefly, but then Ruka counters that into an STF. There's a bunch of counters and reversals at this point. At one point, they almost hit Jessica Carr, the referee, who had to like dive out of the ring to avoid getting hit. And then, let's see, Ruka hits an X Factor from the top rope, but Becky kicks out. And then Becky kind of cuts her off and shoves Jessica Carr to the ropes, which then causes Ruka to lose her balance as she was on the top rope. And then you get a DDT attempt from Becky, but Ruka blocks that, gets her hands up, hits Becky with a super kick. And kind of the finish kind of came out of nowhere. I was kind of surprised. So Lynch goes for the manhandle slam again. Ruka gets out, just kind of hits the soul snatcher out of nowhere, scores the win, winning the IC title, her first main roster title of her career. They played that up as, a big deal, beating someone like Becky with the history that she's had in this promotion. But yeah, there wasn't like a lot of momentum building up to that. It was like out of nowhere, she just kind of went for the manhandle slam and it was instantly reversed into the finish. And that was that. So yeah, it was, again, the first half I was dozing off a little bit, but ultimately I think it was a pretty good match that I'll need to go back and revisit before I score it. But I think the right finish.
It definitely was. It was a solid presentation. Now, you need a veteran in there with Sol Ruka early on to like being able to convey a good story and also get her over. That's super important, and slow her down.
Mm-hmm.
That I think is what's most important in this aspect, because Sol is very green still with a lot of athleticism. Her Sasuke specials are gorgeous. However, again, like Bailey did on Saturday night's main event in December, slow her down, make her look real good. And I think that's going to help with a lot of seasoning as well.
Yeah. So hopefully they kind of take her time with this IC title reign and continue to build her up. I think you got to put Becky back into that world title situation after this. She's been messing around the IC title scene for quite some time now. And I think someone with her star power and her resume, you got to elevate her back into that world title scene.
Perhaps. I mean, she was just there a couple of years ago, but at the same time, you want to try to elevate new faces. I think it's just a matter of, who to get up there to face Liv Morgan at this point, who also is on a milk carton these days. We haven't seen her much, if at all, except for a couple of promos here and there after WrestleMania, and that's not a good look either for WWE.
She was in the crowd. They did show her sitting in the crowd tonight, so she was at least at ringside. But with the Judgment Day. So yeah, we had that. That's the show. So, I mean, yeah, like if you're gonna watch anything again, it's probably Brock Oba because it was so brief. But I saw it, so I don't really feel the need to revisit it. And ultimately, this is probably not the match from their feud anyone's gonna remember. It's gonna be potentially SummerSlam and the match that'll end the feud, or it's gonna be WrestleMania, and this will be that one kind of in the middle. That's probably the more forgotten one of them. But yeah, great crowd. To your point, they always add to it whenever they're over in Europe. And I thought the Italian crowd was really, really good, and the match was, or the show itself was just pretty average. At least I got my night open ahead of me now.
That's the most important thing, and I
Yeah.
wish like other companies would take a kudos to do that too. I know that AEW is going to do that at the end of August with All In being at noon or 1 o'clock, whatever our time at Wembley, because of the bank holiday over there too. So yeah, I would love some congruency with those two companies, just to either put it on Saturday nights or put it at like 5 o'clock Central Time. Because I saw some beef as well later on about getting out at midnight and finding transportation to be a huge issue over on the weekends. Whereas, hey, this means you have your whole night in front of you, and you don't drift off to sleep or start to.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so we can hit briefly, because I said I'd throw it back to this at the end of the show, Jesse. Your thoughts about that AAA match last night?
Like I said, the presentation, the entrances were spectacular. Absolutely loved that. There was juice in this match. I absolutely love that. I'm still a big fan in ring of Chad Gable. Ludwig Kaiser and his mannerisms, I am also a fan of his. His work rate's fine, it's passable. This crowd ate up everything. And I mean everything. I did feel it was quite a bit convoluted with maybe 5 or 6 run-ins, including the AAA president. She made her way in at some point twice to interfere in this match. There were a lot of false finishes. So while people call this maybe like one of the greatest matches of the year, I would not quite go that far. However, I was highly entertained, never bored, and I would rate it between 4 to 4.25 stars. And it's not just because I think it's more about the spectacle of it than it was the ring work for me. Because the ring work was fine. Chad Gable's obviously going to put on a great performance no matter what. However, I think just A+ for that crowd. They've bought into this entire angle for the last couple of months. And Stephen Conway said it on my Patreon Unplugged show. Like, you wouldn't even think this was you wouldn't think AAA was part of WWE the way it's being booked right now. And he is very anti anything World Wrestling Entertainment. And even he's sinking his teeth into it and says he loved it. It's one of the best things that he's seen going. Mark Calloway?
Mark Calloway, is he a better booker than Paul Levesque? Is that what we're learning here? People joking about that. Yeah, like I said, I'm excited to watch it in full. I've read a lot of the comments calling it like match of the year contender. I see on Cage Match, it's got a similar rating to like Okada and Takeshita from last weekend. It's at 9.58 on Cage Match right now. It was a little higher earlier today. It's gone down a little bit. I don't even know. I'm pretty sure Okada and Takeshita are like 9.6 or something like it. It's pulling teeth. They're really close. I'd be surprised if I thought it was better than that one, but we'll see. I think a greater point here is it shows like how good Chad Gable is. And we've talked about how there's been so many times where Chad Gable, they could have really went fully forward with. Like, you were at one of those matches, I think up in Minnesota, where he challenged for the IC title at the time? And
it's a fatal 4-way, and he won the match to become the #1 contender for the IC title.
That's right. And he would always get like really close to them strapping him up, and then they would never go all the way with him. And he's sunk his teeth into this and made it work. He is just an ultra talented dude. It again shows there's all this potential in WWE with some of these people. They just got to give them the runway to let them take off. And Chad Gable has all the potential in the world, always has. We've always been super high on him. We've always been really high on Jacob Fatu. We've always been really high on Gunther. Right? And some of these Oba Femi, of course, people that we see a lot of potential in. You just got to let them run with the ball. So, there's people there. We might be really down creatively on WWE right now, but there's still people that we like to watch work and people that we want to see get that opportunity, and we want to see creative improve for them. So even though sometimes we complain about WWE, I certainly did at the beginning of the show, and creatively, I don't agree with some of the decisions being made. I still think they got a lot of talent there that I want to see have a chance to go to the next level.
Ludwig Kaiser, I feel, would be Intercontinental Championship worthy because of the character that he has. He could easily get over with the American audience and has a little on occasion as Gunther's sidekick. With
Yeah.
Chad Gable unmasking last night, his family was in the ring. I forgot to mention this, and the crimson mask, and he even wiped some of his hand blood on his daughter's hands, and her daughter looked at it kind of funny, like, what is this? This is gross. And he unmasked and he said his name, his government name, and he said the year he was born, March 7th, 1986, and he was born in Minneapolis, Minnesota, former Greco-Roman Olympic wrestler, and it was kind of cool. There wasn't a he didn't jump Ludwig after the match, just walked right out with his family.
So he said it. You say he said his real name?
Yeah, we said Chad Gable. Went through his birthday, went through all of his accolades.
His actual name? I'm not even sure what his real name is. Like, I gotta look it up. I thought you meant like he said his off-camera name. Charles Betts. Charles Betts.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Charles Betts. No, he did not say Charles Betts. My fault, folks. I did say government name. Chad Gable, in-ring name.
Yeah. Oh, we got another super chat. Brittany, appreciate a shout out from you and the support. Brittany says, hey guys, sorry I'm late, but how are you doing? AAA was amazing. Clash was all right. Thoughts on Brock taking the win? Yeah, you have to rewind on the Brock stuff. I mean, I wasn't surprised, as we said. It's just they're setting up the rubber match. So I can't be too mad because it was just obvious going in. My bigger frustration is that I think both times Oba wins in this feud, it's going to be overshadowed by Brock retiring. And I don't think they really should have done it the first time. I think that was unnecessary at WrestleMania to do the retirement angle, especially since I think it's going to happen again, maybe at SummerSlam.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Brock has been a little bit soured on this pod, unfortunately, with some of the stuff that he's going through legally. But I mean, they're setting up that third match here at SummerSlam in Minneapolis.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna put that AAA show on in the background as I do some of these chores around the house tonight. But once we get to that main event, I'm gonna have to. That was the main event, wasn't it? Okay, I would assume.
Yes, it was 9.57 on Cage Match. By the way, 474 votes for Gable and Kaiser.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty damn high.
4.25 is what I would honestly go, and I think it's just because of all of the convoluted stuff that was going on. Made sense in the story, yet it was too much for my personal liking. But can't deny everything else.
Yeah. Yeah, when we get up to that match, I will be sitting down with my full attention for sure. But I'm gonna have the rest of the show kind of on the background, just trying to take it in here a little bit. So,
and for the record, by the way, folks, Double or Nothing, I think I only rated one match higher than 4.25 on that show. So definitely in comparison with some of the upper level stuff on that card.
Yeah, I was a little higher than you on some of those over on our Patreon. I went 4.75 on Takeshita and Okada. I had a couple 4.25 and 4.5 on that show as well. But I mean, that was like an all-time level pay-per-view last weekend. One of the best I've ever watched. Also want to give a shout out to Brittany, who became a TRN Plus member just now on our channel. I don't promote it all that much, but TRN Plus is a great way to support our show because you get access to the video versions of most of our bonus podcasts. So like TRN Classics, if you're a patron, you get the podcast and video. But if you become a channel member on YouTube, you get the video version of that. The video version of some of Jesse's shows that he does for Unplugged. So you get most of the archive on there too. It's actually a couple of bucks cheaper. You also get recognized on our channel homepage if you're a member of TRN Plus. And you get like special privileges here in the chat as well. So just another way to support us. And if we grow the TRN Plus thing here on YouTube a little bit more, it might get to the point where we can do like some special bonus question and answer streams only for the YouTube members. I think that would be something fun we could do in the future. And we got a handful of members here on the YouTube, and appreciate Brittany for becoming a paid channel member, your TRN Plus. Thank you so much.
Yes, the unofficial third co-host of today's show has been quite loud in the background, very animated, and took him to the History Museum today of Minnesota, and he was super intrigued. I think Ryan could maybe go on for about 30 seconds about Hubert H. Humphrey if he wanted to, but that was definitely a highlight for sure. And then one last thing with the TRN Plus stuff, I am actually going to definitely be doing one show live in a couple of weeks. Covering Will Ospreay Shingo Takagi from 2019 with a certain TRN patron. Hint, hint.
Ooh, very nice. Look forward to that as well. All right. Well, I thought it was be a tight show, and we're right up on an hour as usual. What do you know? We can't do these shows any faster than an hour, Jesse. It's just not possible.
I feel like you and I could talk forever, even about bad professional wrestling. It's not as good as bad pizza because there's no such thing as, but like below average pizza is still really good. Below average wrestling is just, go listen to our Bash at the Beach 2000 classics episode for our thoughts on bad level wrestling.
That was when we were wondering, are patrons trying to like punish us or something with some of these shows they had us reviewing during that summer? Our Bash at the Beach 2000. That's in the archives here, Brittany, on YouTube. So you can go back and watch the video version of that. Otherwise, patrons, you can get the podcast version as well. But yeah, good stuff. Thanks for your support, everybody. We got a decent crowd here right now. So if you we're about to end, but if you click like on the video, we would appreciate that because it'll get out to more people here on demand after the fact. And this happens every single show where like we're getting ready to end, and then our viewership spikes for some reason, and everyone starts joining the show. So anyone joining us live right now, rewind and start at the beginning because we just reviewed the whole thing. You're gonna hear me rant at the beginning and then settle down a little bit, but ultimately, talking pro wrestling with my guy Jesse on a Sunday afternoon, I can't complain too much. It was fun.
No, it's easily one of the highlights of my day. And not only that, but the History Museum is, again, this almost 5-year-old is out of control right now.
We are dedicated podcasters. Jesse trying to wrangle a small child off to the side who made a brief appearance. My kids begging me to go put up some shelves for him. So I'm going to get to that now before I get kicked out of my house. So for Jesse Velasquez, I'm Ryan Drosty. We appreciate the support, everybody. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that thumbs up, and we'll talk to you again real soon. Take care, everybody.